Oh, hi, everybody. It's Ezra Levant here. It's Monday, August 24th, and this is my daily live stream. I actually was doing a live stream last night, well into the wee hours, with my good friend Sheila Gunn-Reid, and of course Justin, our trusty producer, because last night was the Conservative Party of Canada's leadership race results. It was scheduled for 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which in our large country means 4:30 in the afternoon in Alberta, 3:30 in BC. And I told the missus, I'm just going in for an hour and a half. They're just going to announce the results, and it's not going to be long. But they had a technical glitch. I'm not even going to try and repeat their excuse, but I think it was like 6 hours before. Was it 6 hours? Or longer. It was longer. We just sat there and sat there and sat there, and we got a little silly, and Sheila and I talked about dating advice for young people. Very, very helpful. And we learned a lot about Cian Bexty, our Calgary-based reporter. We learned that he was deeply into making puzzles, which is completely fine. We are very accepting around here. And so we've got a puzzler on staff. Look at him, at his he's a wild and crazy guy. And I'm not sure, at a certain point, I think Red Bulls, does a Red Bull make you a better puzzler? One Red Bull, sure. 2 Red Bulls, okay. Once you pass 3 Red Bulls, I think it's becoming a detriment to your puzzle solving skills. I think it makes you less good at it, but we had a ton of great photos from Cian last night. Welcome to today. I want to talk a little bit about last night's win by Erin O'Toole. It certainly caught the media party off guard. I just saw a tweet, can you find it? Dean Skoreko was mocking the Toronto Star because the Toronto Star was shocked. They thought their man, Peter MacKay, was going to win, and I'll admit, I thought that was the default state too. But purely based on Peter MacKay having a lot of money and name recognition and just buying things, buying endorsements, buying this, buying that. But there was no proof of it, because to know if someone would win, you'd have to know how many memberships they sold and in which districts. Because you sell 100 memberships in a district with a low membership count, you get all the points. You sell 100 memberships in a high membership district like Calgary Southwest, you don't get all the points. I like this. So Tana McCharles, she's with the Toronto Star. Erin O'Toole wins Conservative Party leadership in major upsets. And Dean says it's not an upset when the Star was found to be wrong about Conservative supporters. Yeah, so when the Toronto Star is your North Star, if you set your compass by the Toronto Star, they know a lot about the Liberal Party. They know a lot about Toronto things, but the Conservative Party is not a Liberal thing, and it's generally not a Toronto thing. In fact, Toronto is sort of like a wasteland for the Conservatives. Other than unexpectedly having to sit in this chair for 8 hours, I enjoyed the night. And the most painful part was when they tried to kill time. We've all seen TV hosts try and kill time. It's very painful. It's no different from what Sheila and I were doing last night. We had the good fortune of being able to read super chats from our viewers, which is a great way to pass the hours because our viewers are funny and smart, and they make interesting observations. And I'll read the super chats today, don't worry about it. I see Damon the Danitz is back with $5. What's the difference between MacKay and O'Toole? Well, I think we're about to find out, aren't we? If there is a difference and what it is. I enjoyed going through. We had a lot of super chats in 8 hours, you can imagine. Some of them raised good points, some made jokes, some were very generous. As you know, YouTube lets us keep 70% of the super chat money, so that's really helpful. To kill the time, they put Andrew Scheer up for another goodbye speech. And it's like when you drop someone off at the airport, you want to drop them off at the curb outside, right? Take their luggage out, put it on a luggage cart. If you're giving a hug, give a hug. If it's a handshake, if it's like a backpack, if it's a guy hug, whatever. And then you say goodbye, and then you get in your car and you drive away. If you say goodbye, and then if you have a good goodbye, and then say, oh, we'll walk you into the terminal. I'm just using the airport as an example. Could be anything. And you're standing there while they check in, and then they go in. Okay, you say goodbye again, but it's now not as effusive, right? Because you already had your big goodbye. And let's say you walk them to security now. Do you say goodbye a third time? How many times do you say goodbye before you just say, all right, cheers? Like, maybe you start big, and then you go smaller, and then later it's just, all right. Like, there's only so many times you say goodbye before the other guy says, enough, leave. That's how I felt with Andrew Scheer last night. It was excruciating, this slow walk, extra year. And it wasn't just that he was profiting off his extra year hangover sticking around. He claimed he resigned last December. He did not. He lied, of course. Why would he lie? Because he gets the huge salary top up as leader of the opposition. He gets the huge mansion and the chef and the limo and the big budget and the ability to boss around the other MPs in the caucus and shadow cabinet. For the last year, Andrew Scheer has been hiring and firing, promoting and demoting and disciplining every other MP. Who wouldn't want that? So he could say, guys, I quit. So he'd be off the hook and the pressure would be gone and he could still do what he wanted. And he jammed a lot of Benjamins, as we say in America, in his pocket before he left. Boy, it's glad to be done with him. There was this one moment at the very end that just, so he gave his interminable goodbye, goodbye, goodbye speech. I've already said goodbye, then goodbye, goodbye, then goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. It was just endless. And you know, it's something you see in sports. It's something you see in politics. On the podium, at the finish line, you have the first, second, third, and sometimes the competitors in a race show a collegiality amongst themselves. It's like at the end of a sports game, whether it's hockey or whatever, the teams make a line and they handshake, right? They shake hands. It's nice. Or on a podium, maybe the first place and second place guys hold their hands up together. Just a little sign that this is a competitive sport, but we're colleagues. There's an important tradition in democracy, if it was a hard-fought race, where the second place guy holds up the hand of the first place guy. It's just a symbol. It's a way of saying, guys, we fought very, very hard, but if I can get over my animosity towards the guy who just beat me, you can too. Let's all pull together and win this thing. And in fact, there's a tradition, and I've been involved, not recently, but I used to chair nomination meetings way back in the day when I was just a youngster. I chaired nomination meetings across Alberta for the old Reform Party. So we really, really had a process and an agenda. And it was a nice tradition for the person who came in second place to, for example, sometimes you've heard, I move that we make it unanimous. I move that we destroy the ballots. Those are things that the loser would say out of magnanimity and reconciliation. So his supporters would say, okay, well, if the candidate who I worked so hard for just lost, he's not mad anymore, at least he's biting his tongue and shaking the hands and holding up the hand of the winner. I can do that too. So at that key moment, at the end of the night, when, look at this. So there's Peter MacKay to the right there, and Derek Sloan's on the right, then Peter MacKay, then Leslie Lewis. And then who weaseled his way in and is holding up Erin O'Toole's hand, but Andrew Scheer. And look at Peter MacKay way over there. Why was Andrew Scheer on the stage? He's not the leader. He resigned a year ago. Peter MacKay is just off to the side there. He's not showing affection or reconciliation with the leader, Erin O'Toole. Why is Andrew, and look at Andrew Scheer, it looks like he's going to give another speech. And now he's right in front of the podium, and he's blocking everything, and he's leading Erin O'Toole away. Why is he leading Erin O'Toole away? There's Leslie Lewis, there's Peter MacKay. Why is Andrew Scheer even up there anymore? Why did he go in for the victory handshake? He had nothing to do with it. He was just collecting the double paycheck for the last 9 months. I thought that was really gross and a missed opportunity. Look, I'm not a party member. I mean, what do I care? But imagine you just can't get out of the spotlight. You're milking it for those last few seconds. And so you're standing where the runner-up was standing. Low class Andrew Scheer. Low class. Good. You know, I followed him on Twitter because that's my job. I'm in the journalism and news business, so I follow lots of people on Twitter, including the leader of the opposition, the ineffective snatch defeat from the jaws of victory loser named Andrew Scheer. And what a delight it was last night just to go on my phone and go on Twitter and go to Andrew Scheer and go unfollow. I never have to listen to that loser again. And when I say loser, I'm not saying it as an insult. I'm saying it as a description. He's the loseriest loser that ever lost. Can you think of another Canadian election that was lost so pathetically? Let's look through it. There was Stephen Harper lost in 2015, but that was after a very long run. He could have done better, but I wouldn't call that the loseringest loser who ever lost. Michael Ignatieff was the biggest loser of all time, perhaps. Stéphane Dion was pretty bad in 2008. Michael Ignatieff, I think that was 2011. Okay, Andrew Scheer is on par with Michael Ignatieff, the loseriest loser who ever lost. I'll grant that. All right, let's not mention his name again. Like, who cares? I'm just embarrassed that I have to pay him such a rich pension, but it's good that he's gone. Why don't we show a few clips from O'Toole's speech at the end? It was a little hard for me to concentrate. I admit I was a little tired. It was in the wee hours, but here's some clips of his speech in the light of day. Take a look.
What an honor. Thank you so much. Conservative members across this country have been patient throughout this leadership race, as Canadians have been through COVID-19, and Conservatives were patient again tonight. So thank you for being patient throughout this leadership race. But I want to start by thanking my friends, Leslie Lewis, Derek Sloan, and of course, the Honourable Peter MacKay. Thank you for stepping up for our country. Congratulations for the campaigns you have run, for the ideas you have put forward, and for the Canadians you have recruited to our cause. Thank you for putting your name on the ballot, for leaving your family for weeks to travel all over this great country, whether on the ground or in a room of your house for hours of Zoom calls. Thank you for talking to Canadians about our country.
All right, he's just going through a bunch of things. Can we go to where he sort of lists, I don't know if you can find it, Handley, I don't know what clips you got there, but he sort of listed who he'd like to reach out to. I like that part of the speech. If you can find it, great. If not, don't worry about it. I thought it was an okay speech. The problem with giving a speech without an audience to give you feedback is extremely hard as a speaker to reach high levels of energy and emotion if you're basically speaking in an empty room, an empty studio really, which is what it's like during this pandemic for everyone. And normally a politician would have people interrupting with cheers, and the TV camera would cut away to see a standing ovation, and the speaker would smile naturally, and he'd raise his energy, and he'd have to be stopped because of the applause, and if he told a joke there would be a laugh. And that's the interaction that creates a memorable moment. That's how charisma is shown. You see the personality of the speaker shining on those who listen to him, and it's a wonderful moment. You can't really do that if it's just a guy reading from a teleprompter at some cameras. So I think that's one reason that the speech felt a little flat to me. I saw some conservative pundits last night say they liked it. I'm, I thought it was fine. He sort of introduced himself to most Canadians for the first time. I don't think, in fact, our friend David Menzies went out onto the street. Maybe you can find this fun vid. I know you're looking for more O'Toole clips right now, but I think David went out on the street and did some streeters of can you identify who these people are. Is that right? I think he did one of those. That's a fun one. If you run that, you could then look for the O'Toole stuff in the background. No one knows who Erin O'Toole is. I barely do. And I follow this stuff. He doesn't burn down the house. He's not, I mean, he can read a speech well enough. And he's got a good enough CV. His biography is respectable, more than respectable. He served in our armed forces, which in America, that's almost, I'm not going to say a requirement, but it's so important, especially for politicians on the right. In Canada, it's quite rare. So to have someone who's a lawyer, that's not rare, unfortunately, but who's served in the military is a feather in his cap, and it gives him a lot of credibility with a lot of different people in the country, I think. It's good to see. We got the Menzies clip. So this is David going on the street and just saying to people in Toronto, do you know who these people are? Here, take a look at this. It's worth a chuckle. We'll get that for you, folks. But look, you could do the same thing with most of the people in the Liberal cabinet.
Hey guys, how are you? Would you like to weigh in on our Peter MacKay? And let's just find out how many Torontonians here at Yonge Dundas Square actually know who's who in the Conservative Zoo. Can you identify these four individuals?
No, sir, but I know they're very popular people, sir.
Oh, they're very popular.
Presidents and part of the NDP, maybe? I'm just guessing.
Oh, you know what? You're in the right ballpark. They are in the political world.
Liberals?
Nope. Try again.
You help me out, sir.
They are Conservatives vying for the Conservative Party of Canada leadership.
Yes, sir.
And we have Erin O'Toole, Peter MacKay, Dr. Leslyn Lewis,
And who's
Derek
this guy
Sloan.
right here, sir?
That is Peter MacKay. Does he look a little shifty to you?
Peter MacKay looks like he's a serious guy, but this guy's the most serious one out of all of them. He's smiling, but I wouldn't mess with him, sir.
Do you recognize any of the people in these photographs, sir?
I recognize Peter here because of Rick Mercer. I saw Rick Mercer make fun of him a lot. That's how I know Peter, the defense minister.
So can you name the other three people?
No, I cannot. I know I play ignorant, but I do know Peter. That's who I can name.
If I'm being complete, I have no idea, man.
No?
No idea, not at all.
I'm pretty sure that's Peter MacKay.
Correct. Excellent.
I want to say Morneau. No?
Nope. We're just asking people if they can identify any of the folks in this photo.
No, not really.
How about yourself, sir?
No.
Any idea?
No.
No? Do you know what industry or realm they might be in?
No, sorry. No.
No, they are ugly.
Who would you vote for based on the photo alone, sir?
Yeah, I can't do that. I can't base it. No.
I guess I would vote for Peter because Rick Mercer thinks he's funny.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
then.
but to be honest with you, I'd have to make a more educated guess because I wouldn't vote without reading more about the other three candidates because only a fool would do that.
Who would you vote for based on the photograph alone?
Her, because she's a girl.
Oh, okay, she's a girl.
Girl power.
Yourself, sir?
Is she black?
Oh, because she's black and a girl. Girl power and Black Lives Matter, I guess, right?
Exactly.
I know this is a Peter something.
Yep. Peter something? Yeah. That's right. Peter MacKay, that's right. How about the other three?
It's the Conservative Party run for the party leader.
That's right. They're all vying for the party leadership. That's right.
I don't know. I only know Peter.
Okay.
Peter, my friend.
Oh, he's your friend. That's who you'd vote for.
I don't know what for. This is my puppet.
He's a puppet?
My puppet.
Never seen any of them.
Never seen any of them.
Tell me who they are.
Now, who would you vote for just based on their pictures alone, sir?
This one guy right here.
Erin O'Toole.
Yes, sir.
Why is that?
I don't know. He just looks fascinating. He looks really good.
Do you know who the current leader is?
The current, for the Conservative, was it? Oof. I'm forgetting right now. I'm sorry.
Don't feel bad. A lot of people would like to forget. Do you know who any of these four people are then, Jim?
No, that's Djokovic.
Djokovic.
That's the lady from the ODSP office.
Okay.
That's the guy he's Canadian. He used to date Belinda Stronach.
That's right, Peter MacKay.
And the other guy, I don't know about him yet.
Well, to paraphrase Meatloaf, 1 out of 4 ain't bad. That is indeed Peter MacKay. They're all vying for the Conservative leadership. Who would you vote for, sir?
Peter MacKay.
Peter MacKay.
Yeah.
All right. Who would you vote for?
Him.
Erin O'Toole. You know, he's winning the pool.
Yep.
Great. Why Erin O'Toole, sir?
Because I like liberal.
He's very liberal?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be pleased to hear that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not gonna be racist. I'll vote for the woman.
Oh, okay, then.
Black Lives Matter.
That's right. You know what?
Based on the photograph, him.
Derek Sloan.
Oh, that's his name.
But you know what? You raise an interesting point. Do you think right now?
Wait, let him go.
But you know, Black Lives Matter. That's a very trending thing right now. I agree with you, sir. But thank you very much. But do you think that could be used to Dr. Leslie Lewis's advantage? The whole Black Lives Matter movement.
No,
Why is that?
because they won't support him.
Her, you mean?
Oh, see, yeah, I mean, I think
Okay, then.
You think that's gonna help her?
Well, you know what?
Depends what comes out of your mouth.
You know what? I agree, sir. 100%.
Oh yeah, I think I've seen that guy's eyes. Don't. They were me.
That's Peter MacKay. You think Peter MacKay looks a little sketchy?
A little bit. His smile, he's not even smiling. At least he's smiling, she's smiling, and she's smiling.
I know.
This guy's like... Because she has confidence, she's gonna win.
Okay, well, what did we learn when it came to identifying the Conservative Party's Fantastic Four? Well, the vast majority of people have no idea who they are, but based on name recognition, Peter MacKay is the winner, and based on who people would vote for just on photograph alone, I think it's a dead heat between Leslie Lewis and Erin O'Toole. Oh, this is going to be an exciting leadership race, to be sure. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies.
That was so great. You know, can I tell you some thoughts on that video? First of all, isn't David absolutely perfect for that job? He's a friend to all. He is encouraging. He doesn't take the bait and run on a little tangent himself. He coaxes more out of people. I thought David was perfect. And his hat, I agree, his hat was perfect. It's been a fairly hot summer in Toronto. There was a lot of comedy in there. Early in the video, oh, they're ugly. I think there's some truth there. There were some folks who said they can't and they won't vote based on how they look because it behooves them to learn more. I thought that was very encouraging. And you know, people say, oh, we've got to get voter turnout higher, especially amongst the youth. It is completely rational for a young person to say, I really don't know that much about this. I haven't taken the time to know that much about this. I'm not going to go to the effort of voting when I don't know anything. That's not only rational, I think that's good for democracy. Would you want a low information kid, essentially, turns 18, let's just say, who's never read a newspaper, never followed it, just to have a vote, just 'cause? I think that shows responsibility that they don't vote if they have no idea what it's about. And I liked that a few folks there said, I'm not going to make a choice based on my lack of information. And so whenever a liberal says, let's make voting online, what they want to do is reduce the barrier to vote to almost zero. So it's just, oh, click like, click follow, click vote. Because then they'll get low information voters into the system that they think they can manipulate. There was that one guy who kept calling David sir. Sir. I thought, well, he was extremely polite. Actually, I think there was 2 people who did that. You know, those 2 black guys, when David said, should your Black Lives Matter, should we vote on that? I think they said it depends on what comes out of your mouth. I thought that was refreshing common sense to hear. There's a lot of good stuff there. Isn't that quite a colorful scene? Every kind of person from every background, every walk of life is a feast for the eyes. I really like it when we do our streeters down at Yonge Dundas Square. It's sort of a mini Canadian version of Times Square in New York. There's a lot of comedy going on down there. I don't think there's as much tourism. in Yonge Dundas Square, obviously, it's just, it's a fairly downtownish place, lots of Torontonians out and about. Whereas Times Square, my experience is that it's very touristy, so you often get people who aren't New Yorkers or even aren't Americans. But I thought that was some really great work by David. And it's a reminder to folks like you and me who follow politics very closely that severely normal people don't. They just don't. And Erin O'Toole was hardly a household name within the Conservative movement. He really is starting as far back as Andrew Scheer was. We have another clip of O'Toole. Oh, okay, here's a clip that Justin has found of Erin O'Toole listing, I think this is him outlining who he would like to take a second look at the party. Let's take a listen.
Why should I be that leader? Because I believe that whether you are black, white, brown, or from any race or creed, whether you are LGBT or straight, whether you are an Indigenous Canadian or have joined the Canadian family 3 weeks ago or 3 generations ago, whether you're doing well or barely getting by, whether you worship on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, or not at all, you are an important part of Canada, and you have a home in the Conservative Party of Canada. Maybe you have voted for a different party your whole life, or have never voted at all. Maybe you feel that as a union member, you should not vote for our party. Maybe you feel let down repeatedly by politicians. Maybe your family came to Canada for better, but you are still waiting for fair treatment. Maybe you run a small business and work all day only to be called a tax cheat by your own government. It is time for many Liberal and NDP voters to socially distance themselves from those out-of-touch parties. It is time for more Canadians to look at the Conservative Party again. If you want the opportunity to work hard to provide for your family, you should be voting Conservative. If you want to stop insiders from getting ahead while you are falling back, you should be voting Conservative. If you are proud of what we produce in this country, whether it's the resources in the ground or the ideas in our heads, you should be voting Conservative. And if you believe deeply, like I do, that you need an ethical government and that we need to give the Ethics Commissioner a break, you should be voting Conservative. Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh claim to stand up for working families, but they fail them time and time again. Et le Bloc québécois, on va se dire la vérité.
There wasn't translation from French to English last night on the Conservative Party feed. I found that a little bit irritating. I have very basic French, and I can listen certainly better than I can speak, but it was a bit irritating. It was a bit irritating how the results were released in French first, starting in British Columbia. I know a little bit about British Columbia. I think French is like the 10th most spoken language in that province. Obviously, English is first, then various Asian languages, including Chinese, Punjabi, etc. If I'm naming them correctly, I don't know the names of all the different languages there, but French ain't in the top 10, friends. So that's Erin O'Toole, and I wish there was a little bit more zip there, but as I acknowledged on last night's live stream, Stephen Harper didn't have a lot of zip either. Stephen Harper was a substantive man, and there were serious times. He ran in 2004 and then 2006, and then he ran again in 2008 and 2011, if I got my math right on that. And 2008 Great Recession was one of the most trying economic times since the Second World War. And I think Harper was the right man for that occasion. An economist by training, calm, did not start any new entitlements, Canada was the last country into the recession, the first country out of the recession, and the recession was the gentlest here compared to our competitors. Harper handled that very well. Here, believe it or not, we're in a worse situation. We have the virus, which has given an excuse for all sorts of bad behavior. The virus itself is a problem, but it has led to civil liberties problems, a huge financial problem. Trudeau fires the finance minister and puts in some journalistic dilettante as finance minister. we're in a troubling time. I would want a very substantive opposition leader. I just wish he had a bit more pep in him, but it's the substance that counts. I think one thing, and I'll get into this on my monologue tonight, Erin O'Toole was managed by Waleed Solomon, who is a lawyer in Toronto for one of the big firms. I forget which one. It's a huge firm. One of their big clients is Saudi Arabia. Waleed obviously is an Islamic activist. And he was the right-hand man, campaign chairman, I believe, for Patrick Brown, the disgraced former leader of the Ontario PCs. And by the way, Patrick Brown won that in an upset victory against, I forget who he was running against. So Waleed Solomon obviously can organize, and he's the friends with some real unsavory characters, like Patrick Brown. That shows some bad judgment, I think, on Waleed's part. But more than that, as soon as Patrick Brown won the leadership, he reneged on his key promises. It's hard to believe now, given how disgraced Patrick Brown is and the scandals of his sexual misconduct that have come out. But there really, I know it's hard to believe, there was a time when Patrick Brown claimed to be a conservative, a fiscal conservative, a moral conservative. As soon as he got the votes from those parts of the party, he threw them under the bus. And I have a bit of a worry with Erin O'Toole because of his connection to Waleed Solomon, who was Patrick Brown's right-hand man, that perhaps they were just playing the same Patrick Brown playbook, which is claim to be conservative, say the right things, get the conservative votes, and then once you leave the party, throw out those ideas. Sort of what Andrew Scheer did, frankly. But the template here really being Patrick Brown, the disgraced former PC leader who I now, as you know, is the mayor of Brampton, who sneaks in for secret hockey games. So I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that there's enough people on the Erin O'Toole team to provide ballast there. I hope that Waleed Solomon is just one of a great many voices whispering in Erin O'Toole's ears, and that hopefully he won't be derailed by the kind of bad advice that Patrick Brown obviously got. So we'll see. I mean, I felt good last night when I saw this result. I had sort of discounted, I had sort of banked on Peter MacKay winning. He certainly was conducting himself like he was the front runner. And there was really no way to know. So I just thought, well, maybe he knows something I don't know. Indeed, he didn't. It was sort of a pleasure to see the candidate of the Toronto Star and the CBC just get thumped. So I was surprised last night. And now I'm thinking, all right, so what do we make of Erin O'Toole? Well, I think we're about to find out. I think everything he said until this moment is like someone says, yada, 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 but you can sort of ignore everything before the word but, right? That was just all, they were throwing some bones out before they were getting to what they really wanted to say. Everything Erin O'Toole has said until today, I think we can discount because he was just saying those things to win. Now that he's won and has the office, what will he do? Now is the time to pay attention. You should have been paying attention the whole time, I guess. In a very interesting fireside chat with True North's Andrew Lawton, Erin O'Toole claims he's really against, and I keep saying Peter O'Toole, I blend the two names. Erin O'Toole said he was against censorship and cancel culture. I was very glad to hear it. But Andrew Lawton reminded Erin O'Toole that he actually is quite a censor and a litigious guy who says shut up a lot. He sued or filed a complaint with the party to kick out his rival, Jim Karahalios. I think Waleed Solomon actually is suing some conservative blogger in defamation over something. I haven't read the claim. So him and his campaign team are absolutely into cancel culture and censorship in their real lives. So when he told Andrew Lawton, no, I'm for free speech, I'm against cancel culture, Andrew Lawton called him out. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Leslyn Lewis made a point of saying her first visit on the campaign stop was right here at my desk at Rebel News. It was a pleasure to have her there, and she did so well. Derek Sloan, we interviewed him several times. Peter MacKay literally ran away from our reporter, Cian Bexley. He ran and hid in the bathroom. Do we actually have that clip handy? It's so funny. So Peter MacKay, a coward, a liberal, whatever, luckily we'll never have to hear from him. I should unfollow him on Twitter too. He has nothing of interest to say. I bet you his family's relieved. He's got a young family. They're in Toronto. They're living the life. He's making big bucks at the law firm. I bet they're relieved they don't have to have their dad on the campaign trail 200 days a year away from home. You know, the big winner last night are Peter MacKay's kids and his wife. Oh, you know what? I'm going to unfollow Peter MacKay right now on Twitter. I literally couldn't care less about what he says about anything. Do you? I mean, I don't even think he wrote any of his own tweets. Certainly, they just weren't that interesting. You know what? Maybe he's already blocked me. Maybe I never followed him. Peter MacKay. You know what? I never followed him. He just really had nothing interesting ever to say. Goodbye, Peter MacKay. Go live your life as a fancy lawyer. Goodbye, Andrew Scheer. Go become the head of the dairy cartel. That's really the only skill set you possess. You had no real life before you became a boy politician. You sort of lied about having your status as a licensed insurance broker. You weren't. Just please, please, please stay away from podiums and cameras and just take the cash from the government trough as you have done your whole life and don't bother us again. Here is Cian Bexley trying to get a straight answer out of Peter MacKay. Peter MacKay doesn't need this. Why doesn't he go back to his fancy law firm? Take a look.
Peter, you
just did a media val.
I didn't get to answer the question. Why'd you take so few questions? Peter, why'd you take so few questions? I want to ask if you'll apologize for calling Jason.
All the questions that were asked of me.
I'm not sure why you took so few questions compared to everyone else.
That were asked of me. They told me I was done. Okay.
Peter, sorry. You must be confused. The escalator was over there. Would you be able to tell me, will you apologize to Jason Kenney? Will you apologize to Jason Kenney for calling him angry and dismissing the concerns of Albertans? Now, Peter MacKay, rather than getting on the elevator, went to go to the potty to hide from little old me after he was in the bathroom for about 10 seconds to collect his courage. He went back to the escalator, fleeing again, using his campaign staff to try and distract me from asking questions and having him actually answer them. Of course, he couldn't. Peter, you dismissed the anger in Alberta by calling Jason Kenney an angry man. Will you apologize for that?
I'm gonna get that white supremacist rifle going. I'm gonna buy some of those white supremacist rifles.
Will you apologize for calling Jason Kenney an angry man?
How come you don't attend media availabilities?
I was on the phone and they didn't select me.
Oh my God, you were so busy. You couldn't get to the previously scheduled media event.
Peter MacKay, you sort of look like a coward right now.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's called winning. Excuse me.
Oh, no. We're not going in the whole elevator restaurant.
Sorry, can you come on, please?
Peter.
It's called winning, people. What are you doing, Peter? Where are you going? It's called winning, Cian. Sit back and take notes. Well, listen, don't mess with the puzzler. I know who got the better of that exchange. Peter MacKay, goodbye. So it's 12:39. Let's read some super chat. How about that? Or should I be looking on WhatsApp? Here we go. Okay, let me catch up. Calabogie fly fish for $5. This is the last we will see of MacKay. Probably. I bet he'll get some appointment to something someday. Have you ever heard the phrase a thankless task? He'll get some taskless thanks. He'll be appointed to, consul general in New York or something where he and the kids can go and live on the public dime in a great city for a few years. That's what Kim Campbell got when Jean Chrétien threw her a bone out of pity. Kane Enmark, $5. How is the gay beating file in Calgary going on in Kean's story? I didn't have a chance to ask Kean about that, but I'll ask if when I talk to him next. Damon the Damas, $5. What's the difference between McKay and O'Toole? I read this one already. We'll see. We'll see if there's a difference. We'll see if Waleed Solomon turns Erin O'Toole into a Patrick Brown. I hope not. I don't think so. Patrick Brown's a disaster. Even Waleed's got to know that. They're personal friends, but that aside, I think Waleed Solomon's got to know that Patrick Brown is an absolute disaster, and he surely doesn't want to replicate that with Erin O'Toole. And other people have a stake in it too. You got over 100 Conservative MPs, you got dozens of senators, you've got over 170,000 party members, some of which will stick around. So let's be optimistic. Dougie Fuoco, $5. What do you think the odds are that the Bloc Québécois will risk the seats they have and that the NDP has enough money for an election? The NDP does not want an election. They are broke, they have an extremely weak leader, and they're all just sort of grifters. I mean, none of them in the real world, private sector, could earn the kind of living they're earning as MPs. The Bloc Québécois, I don't think they have a lot to worry about. I don't think they're that worried. I think they would probably do well again in an election now. I think it's the NDP that are keeping Trudeau afloat. I don't know if they have the numbers to do that without all the parties, but I think that there should be a non-confidence vote as soon as possible. Maybe give O'Toole a few weeks to get in the chair first. Danny Duarte, $10. Thank you for all you do, Rebel News. Will you guys be covering the Integrity March in Ottawa on September 12th put on by the CCFR? I think the CCFR is Canadian Coalition for Firearms, something, I think. Responsible Firearms. Maybe I'm wrong on that. We like to cover things in Ottawa. We do that fairly often, so I don't want to speak categorically. I don't even really know what your event is 100%, but I'm going to say we'll probably be there. Xanax, $2. Please, no more Scheer. Had enough of him last night. Oh, you're right, and forgive me for rehashing that. Whew. Me see, $1.80. Thank you. Basil the Pumpin' Seagull, $5. O'Toole is pro-gun, so not a total loss, but I don't think he can beat Trudeau. Scheer is a complete loser, good riddance. Listen, Stephen Harper, when he became leader, I was skeptical of him because I knew him as sort of a low-energy wonk. But he rose to the occasion, and he was the man for the times. And of course, there was the huge ad scam scandal. I wonder if the Conservative Party will be able to capitalize on various scandals. They didn't on SNC Lavalin or Blackface. Me see, $3. Wow, what a night. Thank you for all you do. That's nice of you to say. Marcus Starr for $7. Please explain how O'Toole won when McKay had a higher score. Don't understand the process. Because if McKay didn't win on the first ballot, which he did not, then the fourth place person was dropped off and his ballots were reapportioned to their second choice. Then that put, I think, O'Toole in the lead. So then the third place person, Leslie Lewis, dropped off and her ballots were reapportioned. It's a bit of an obscure voting system, but the reason that O'Toole won is that despite placing further ahead than anyone on the first ballot, McKay didn't have an outright majority. And not that many people came over to him as their second choice in the two more iterations. So those who liked Peter McKay liked him well enough, but people did not want to make him their second choice after their guy or gal dropped off. Adam Clark, $7 says, would you believe there will be a fall election? Love you guys. Hard to say. I think Justin Trudeau is still mentally on vacation. He's got his vacation beard. He's doing Netflix and Bong every day. He's just checked out. He's delegated most decision-making jobs to Chrystia Freeland. He's in a funk. He's depressed, I think. He sort of likes campaigning, but only when he gets the love radiated back to him. And he's burnt visible minorities with his blackface. He's burnt women with his groping of Rose Knight. He's burnt young people when we see he was just going to those wee rallies just for the cash. He's burnt Aboriginal folks who saw he threw Jody Whistling-Raybould under the bus. So all the things he likes to sort of be, it's not that he likes to campaign for ideas, he just likes to be the cool guy who's pro-black, pro-women, pro-youth, pro-indigenous. Every single one of those has been revealed to be a bit of a fraud, though, a bit of a fake. So I don't know if he enjoys it. He almost never gets heckled, but I think that's changing. We started to see that with Aboriginal folks heckling Trudeau at different places. I don't think Trudeau likes that one bit. Flatter, $7. The Real News Channel has the proof the vax will be mandatory. Will change your DNA forever like GMO. All politicians are puppets. 9/11 silence proves. I think Trudeau probably does want to make the vaccine mandatory. It's just that would fit in with his views on everything from authoritarianism to obeying the United Nations. Bill Howie, $5. O'Toole owes MSM big time for devaluing Lewis. She still won the popular vote in the second round and all Western provinces. Without the mainstream media, Lewis would be leader. There's some truth to that. And the racists at the CBC, and I say that word deliberately, Wendy Mesley, the fact that she was dropping N-bombs, just walking through the office dropping N-bombs like someone who had a pot of beans for lunch, just farting. She's just like boom, poof, poof, poof. She was like this, just walking around the CBC, N-word, N-word, hey, N-word, how you doing? Hey, my N-word, how are you? Hey, who's that N-word again? Like she was just this crazy racist machine, and that went on for months. And she was only fired when someone leaked the news of it. And last night, Rosemary Barton boasting about having no blacks on her panel. Proud, so she's got the white pride thing going on there. And boy, was she ever called out. It's a double humor there, because of course she's suing the Conservative Party of Canada. Rosemary Barton had a no blacks rule on her show. In the entire campaign, if I'm not mistaken, there was a grand total of 1 minute and 45 seconds for the woman of color running for the Conservatives. Her show has done countless references to Kamala Harris, the vice presidential candidate for the Democrats in the United States. But here you have a strong, smart, black conservative woman in Canada, and it's like Wendy N-word Mesley says no blacks allowed. And so you had all these folks calling out Rosemary Barton for her systemic racism on white. I think her TV show is called White Power in Politics or something, or Power in Politics, one of those two. Just getting tortured. Yeah, so there's Leslie Lewis, who is effectively banned, just banned from the CBC. Let's be honest, the CBC claims to care about women and minorities unless those women and minorities refuse to bend the knee or get down on both knees to Justin Trudeau. So if you're obedient to Trudeau, the CBC will love you. But the minute you're skeptical about Trudeau, like Jody Wilson-Raybould, Jane Philpott, Selena Caesar-Chavannes, or of course the Conservatives, Leslie Lewis, the CBC will attack you with a viciousness that will shock you. What a bunch of racists there. I can't believe Wendy Mesley is going around the palace of woke, dropping the N-word. You know, I'm 48, I'm not young. So I've been around before woke was a thing. You would never hear someone do that, let alone at a company, in an office, in one of the most multiracial cities in Canada, Toronto, Vancouver. And she would just, like this white racist queen, be dropping the N-word again and again. I can't believe it. And imagine the laughter in her own mind. Then she was the self-appointed racism finder for the CBC. She would call out any conservative as racist. And then as soon as she was off her show, she just, like a Tourette syndrome person, it would come out, N-word, 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 hey, N-word. I mean, what a wicked, evil woman. What a race. I didn't know. I literally didn't know until she was sacked for being a racist. Unreal. And Rosemary Barton, who obviously deserves to be sacked for not just, I don't have any proof that Rosemary Barton calls people the N-word like her colleague Wendy Mesley does. But seriously, you're banning a black woman from your show. You're giving her a grand total of, what, a minute 45 airtime in the whole 6-month campaign, and then you celebrate having no blacks on your show. You're creepy. You're a weird little creep, Rosemary Barton. I think you've got a bit of a blind spot when it comes to your internalized racism. And I don't believe in wokeness, but I got to call it like I see it. Rosemary Barton, Wendy Mesley, and the rest of these, apartheid journalists are sort of gross. Sort of gross. Ew. Ooh. Don't worry though. They're all paying union dues to unions that have third-party super PACs that run the campaign. Almost every journalist at the CBC is represented by something called the Canada Media Guild. That's one union, and the other union is called Unifor. Between these two unions, you're covering almost every unionized journalist in the country. So that's the CBC, a lot of the TV stations. I think the Globe and Mail is covering that. I'll have to check. And here's Jerry Diaz, the head of Unifor, tweeting late last night. Like you can see, it's 1:23 a.m. last night. Erin O'Toole elected as leader of the Conservative Party after being endorsed by his buddy Jason Kenney, who is actively attacking workers' rights in Alberta. It's clear O'Toole is no friend to working people. O'Toole actually gave a bit of a speech, as you heard, about his working class roots, but the journalist union boss there, Jerry Diaz, who represents hundreds of working journalists in Canada, has already decided to attack and destroy Erin O'Toole. It's so weird that journalists pay union dues to a union boss to not only personally attack these conservatives, but then to set up these super PACs, these registered third-party campaign groups. And these journalists pretend that that doesn't compromise them. They don't disclose that. They don't, like David Aiken, who I used to work with, I think he's a member of Unifor. Pretty sure he is. Maybe that's not the case anymore, but I know he was. So he'll do a report on Erin O'Toole. Okay. But he doesn't end by saying, full disclosure, I pay union dues to a union and I'm part of a union that's running an anti-Erin O'Toole campaign. You don't think that's relevant? I mean, if you were taking money from, General Motors to bash Tesla, you don't think that would be relevant to disclose that? I mean, you should probably recuse yourself from any political coverage. If you're a member of a political party, or if you're donating to a political party or one of these third-party groups like Unifor, how can you even cover politics? I don't even know how you can do that. But even if you do that, if you refuse to recuse yourself, how can you not disclose that at the end of your report? So you just do a 5-minute report just savaging the new Conservative leader. Okay, fine. Fair comment. But isn't it relevant to disclose to viewers that you not only receive, in the case of many newspapers, bailout money from Trudeau, but more importantly, that you pay a kickback of sorts to the Liberal Party by funding your Unifor or Canadian Media Guild campaign against O'Toole? I don't even know how those journalists can do that. I mean, I suppose it's not illegal, but it sure is unethical. That's so gross. And that, again, that's your Rosemary Barton, Wendy Mesley bigotry again. It's just, they're so unethical. You know what, I wouldn't care. There's a lot of unethical people out there, but I hate the fact that we have to pay money to Rosemary Barton and Wendy N-word Mesley. Bugs me. Mike Seguin, $21. Thanks, Mike. Phyllis Zabudsky, $5. 35% of O'Toole's votes came from Sloan and Lewis votes, so hopefully they will have some influence on O'Toole's policies. Well, we'll see. Danny Duarte, $5. Bravo. Thanks, Danny. SA, $20. Maybe they need these leaders weak and as Brown disaster, so it's easier to manipulate them. Well, I mean, look, Erin O'Toole came in third last time. So you had Stephen Harper, then he was replaced by Andrew Scheer. Second place was Maxime Bernier. Third place was Erin O'Toole. So we're working our way down from the A list to the B list to the C list. Please don't let there be another leadership race. Shauna Vision, $2. Would O'Toole actually defund the CBC if elected PM? Listen, if he wouldn't do it when he was in power as an MP and a cabinet minister, pretty sure he's not going to do it now. But we'll see. I don't believe he will. Kurt Koenig, $5. The only difference between McCain and O'Toole is about 75 pounds. Well, that's being mean, and I say that as one fatty to another. As far as I'm concerned, Erin O'Toole could weigh 280 pounds. But if he's the right guy, I'd support him. Now, you're too fat, and voters won't support you. I don't think he's particularly fat. He's just got a round face. Mike Seguin, $21. Hope Sloan doesn't quit. I hope so too, and I hope he's not kicked out. But remember, Erin O'Toole is directly responsible for Jim Karahalios being kicked out of the leadership race. I hope that O'Toole doesn't try and purge his leadership rivals. That's what Andrew Scheer certainly did last time, and it didn't help. Shaw, $5. Thank you. Flatterer, $7. I'm a professor in Ontario, and the college wants to get rid of me for refusing the mask, forcing me to prove my exemption. Look up containment camps. Well, I don't know if there's special rules applying to universities, but if you go to maskexemption.ca, we have a review of all the bylaws in Canada, in fact, discussing mask exemptions. RSAW, $2. Ezra, rumor is Trudeau is separated from Sophie. I was asked that yesterday, and it's not actually a rumor. It's a fact. He lives in a place called Rideau Cottage in Ottawa, and she has custody of the kids across the river in Gatineau, in a lovely house called Harrington Lake, on Harrington Lake. So I don't know if that means they're legally separated. There are some legal tests for that, but they've been living apart for many months. Trudeau's on this weird self-hiding thing. He's just sort of a shut-in, a bit of a recluse in Rideau Cottage. And Sophie's with the kids elsewhere. She took the kids with her to London to hang out with Idris Elba while Trudeau was, they're living separate lives. And I think that politicians' families should have some privacy. I don't even know if it's the public's business. If Sophie and Justin Trudeau are separated or even divorced, I would tend to say, well, certainly lay off the kids, although Trudeau uses them as photo ops. But let me ask you this way. If Doug Ford were separated or getting a divorce, would the media be as uninterested in the subject? If Stephen Harper, God forbid, had a divorce, or Donald Trump had another divorce, do you think the media would be as uninterested as they are about Justin Trudeau's personal life? Don't kid yourself. They'd have a field day. Another super chat come in. Let's take a look there. Bruce Gilfer, $15. Thank you very much. Hey, I've got 3 minutes left, and I just want to show you. There's the state of Victoria in Australia. Victoria is the southeast state, not far from Tasmania. It's got the great city of Melbourne, which is approximately the size of Toronto. They're in a total lockdown. They're total martial law. And if I understand this next video correctly, a Brit is in Australia. He's got an exemption card. He's got his ID. He's just walking down the streets, and 5 cops jump on him. Take a look.
License out. Can I get your name, please? Yep, First Constable Matthew Barnes from Prahran Police Station, 43146.
First Constable Wright from Prahran Police Station. We need to provide your details.
This is my ID.
What is your name?
Why have you got handcuffs on me? What's your date of birth? It's on there.
Can you state your name and address, please?
That's obviously my UK address.
What's the issue?
He's got handcuffs. He's harassing me.
What's the go?
He's harassing me.
Yeah, no worries.
She's got my ID.
Confirm your identity,
She's got my ID. She's got my ID in her hands.
Yeah, put your hands behind your back.
Give us your hand. My ID's in her hands. My ID's in her hands. Why?
He's got his ID.
You're harassing me, mate.
You're not wearing a mask.
You're harassing me. I've told you I've got an exemption.
What's your exemption?
I've told you I've got an exemption. Get the fucking cuffs off me.
What's your exemption?
I've told you I've got an exemption.
What is it?
What do you mean, what is it?
What's your exemption?
I've got an exemption.
Yeah, what's your exemption?
Why does it matter? It's not your business.
It's not legitimate or not.
You need to prove that I haven't got one. I don't need to prove to you.
Well,
you're the one coming up to me, putting handcuffs on me.
What we'll do?
Putting handcuffs on me in the fucking middle of the street. I don't need to listen.
Okay. We're going to issue you with an infringement, and then you can argue it at court. How about that?
Don't need to go to court, mate. You're going to get done for
right now with your exemption. You should probably run it.
I don't need to tell you anything, mate. I'm walking down the street. You've just put handcuffs on me.
What is your address?
You're harassing me. What? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you.
Sir, what's your address? Please.
6 cops because a guy's on the street outdoors. By the way, the Globe and Mail reviewed 300 studies of how the virus spreads, and it doesn't spread outdoors. It just doesn't. Sorry, guys. So if you're not wearing a mask on the street, that is not a threat to anyone. And even if it was, a mask would not stop it. 6 cops on a guy. And there's an interesting, just those police are murdering their own reputation, in my view. A self-respecting police officer, and more important, police chief, police commissioner, would say to the politicians, we can't enforce your vague, arbitrary, unscientific, personal, invasive, unconstitutional laws. How about let us fight crime and you can do the BS Orwellian stuff? Because what's going to happen is that the love and support for police around the world is going to plummet. Maybe that's the goal. Maybe if you can't defund the police, you'll just destroy the police by destroying their reputation. I want to point out that in many jurisdictions, including here in Toronto, it's illegal to ask someone to prove they're exempt. It's illegal, and you say, well, why is that? Well, think about it. There's certain things that you're allowed to or not allowed to do based on your health. For example, a handicapped parking stall. You're allowed to park there only if you're handicapped, right? So let's say you park in a handicapped parking stall and you get into a wheelchair out of your vehicle and you start wheeling, and some cop says, whoa, 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 where are you going? You're parked in the handicapped parking stall. So yeah, I'm handicapped. Prove it. Nah, mate, I'm handicapped. I don't have to prove that you're in a wheelchair. Prove you can't stand up. Seriously, stand up. I think you can stand up. No, I'm in a wheelchair, mate. Like, you could see how bizarre that would be if a cop who's not a doctor, or a shopkeeper who's not a doctor or a cop, would say, prove you're exempt. No, you're not a doctor, you're not a judge, and I'm not going to, in public, have a little cross-examination of my health here. Thank you very little. And in fact, in specific, and I encourage you to go to maskexemption.ca, because we have every bylaw in Canada, many of which have a do not ask, you're not allowed to ask provision. Here we go, mask exemption. So if you can, just click on the Toronto mask exemption card, because we have the laws for every jurisdiction, but if you click on there, you can sort of see the mask exemption card. We sell them for $10, or we give you the template. You can literally print them yourselves. I was in Niagara Falls the other day, and I saw a guy just had those little stickers you wear on your lapel that says, hi, I'm so-and-so, like a name tag. And he just wrote mask exemption. He's walking around with a little mask exemption. That's even better because it does the communicating. You don't have to pull out the card. You don't have to do any talking. I used the mask exemption card in Niagara Falls, and it was over so I just showed it and the guy just moved on. He didn't want to engage. Because it is illegal in most jurisdictions to ask someone to prove they're exempt. That would be like asking someone, prove you need the cane. Prove you're hard of hearing. Prove you're legally blind. Prove that's a seeing eye dog. Nah, mate, I don't have to prove that's a seeing eye dog. No, prove it. I don't think you're blind. I don't think you're blind. Get out of this story. I'm blind. I'm blind. Yeah, I've got the glasses, I got the cane, I got the dog. No, prove it. You would never do that. Prove you deserve to be in this prove you have the right to be in this wheelchair. No, I don't have to go through a medical exam with you. I don't have to tell you my story. You're just some loser on the street who pulled me over because I'm not wearing a muzzle. I think that some people are going to lose their patience here in a really wicked way. On our mask exemption card, we try and use friendly language like, please help, and hey, we're all friends here, because we want to lower the temperature. But there are some people out there, in fact, I heard my friend Raheel this morning say she was in a beauty salon, and some woman came in and sort of made a big scene about not having a mask, and I'm going to take you to court for asking me to prove it. And you're going to get people who are really, really mad and who aren't very gentle about it. I'm worried you're going to see some violence. So I blame the politicians, of course. The pandemic's over, by the way. can you get my response to Doug Ford? And then we'll go. It's 1:04. We got to get out of here. But the other day, Doug Ford made an announcement that there was going to be a new 3M mask factory in Ontario. By the way, it's almost September. We're a week away from September. The pandemic state of emergency in Ontario, if my memory serves, was St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. April, May, June, July, August and a half. So we're 5.5 months into it. The pandemic, if you can find my tweet, sorry about that, but it was a retweet of Doug Ford. And when he was so proud, he was saying it was one of the most important announcements of his life. The N95 masks. So here he is. He says, yesterday we made a historic announcement and it was one of my proudest moments as Premier. We are protecting our nurses, doctors, and frontline heroes by ensuring Ontario will never have to depend on another country for N95 masks again. So this is my reply. I said, thanks, but the pandemic in Ontario was over back in May. Not sure what the mask will do now except keep people afraid and lead to quarrels between shops and their customers. And then click on that chart. I took that from the Premier's own public health stats. So can you see on there that the pandemic in Ontario peaked in mid-April? Do you see that really tall line there? And it stuck around for the rest of April, and then in May it just fell right down. Down, 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 down. And then by June it was over pretty much. Now it's as low as it was before the state of emergency. There are days that pass by with no deaths in Toronto. Look at that graph. You don't have to be a scientist to look at that graph and see, yeah, it's over. It peaked in April, it ended in May, and we're almost in September, and you're saying that you made a historic decision to buy some masks that'll be ready in a month or so. That's pitiful. All right, my friends, it's 1:06. Thanks for your help. I think I got through all the super chats. Yeah. We got a dog video curated by my friend Justin. I have not seen this dog video, but it is scientifically proven to make you between 4 and 22% happier. So I'll say goodbye now, and let me leave you with a dog video.